Right. Uh, right. So the next lesson is about creating a web page. If you can remember, we discussed some of the basics of web in the beginning of our lessons. So now we are going to focus on web page development with ASP.NET. So during this lesson, we'll be covering customizing the layout and appearance of a web page, basically HTML and CSS. Then understanding the basics of ASP.NET objects and understanding state information in web application. So it's really important to understand state management in web. The web is based on a protocol called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hypertext Transfer Protocol considered uh, as there are two types of protocols. Type of protocol can manage their state, and some type of protocols cannot maintain their state. For an example, we have FTP protocol. In FTP protocol, when client and server needs to communicate each other, the first they have to recognize each other. At least one party should recognize the other party, and they have to make a connection. Once they establish a connection, only they can communicate each other. Meaning they're maintaining the state basically. State means once you establish a connection, server knows any request comes from this connection should come from the particular client. When a server request so when a server receive a request from a particular connection, server knows it is coming from this particular client. And when the client receive a response through a particular connection, client knows it is from the particular server. We call them as stateful protocol. There's another type of protocol called stateless protocol. In stateless protocol, we don't need to establish a connection. Basically, client can directly talk to the server, sending a message. So in that case, server can recognize a request coming from a particular IP address. Then server will process it and response. Again, if the same client make a request to the server, server cannot understand this client has already made a request earlier. Every request to a server comes as a new request in stateless protocol, meaning the server or the client does not maintain any past information. So it's a problem for some application. Example, web. HTTP is a stateless protocol. So whenever you make a request to a web server, the web server recognizes your request as a new request. So we cannot, in that sense, we cannot run some application like Gmail or Facebook. We cannot run. Why? In Gmail or Facebook, at the very beginning, we log into the application. We give our username password. The server verifies our username and password. Then server accepts us. After that, we make several requests. In HTTP, all such requests goes as new requests. Server cannot recognize are these requests coming from a particular user. That's why on the application level, we have to maintain state. You may have heard these concepts earlier. Session management, cookie management as part of state management in web. Because HTTP is a stateless protocol, it does not maintain any state. So therefore, on the application level, the program level, we have to maintain state. Otherwise, server cannot understand their users. Okay, so uh, at the latter part of this the lesson, we will move into the state management. Okay, so basically we'll be covering the layout and page design and the understanding ASP.NET objects and the state management at the end. uh, Again, if you have any question, any concern, you can put on the chat or you can unmute your microphone and answer at any time. No issue on that. Start off the web lesson. Uh, web, right. HTML is the main language that we use in web, text markup language. The World Wide Web was introduced by Tim Berners-Lee and his team during 1990s, and after that they introduced the web. Web is a, uh, a, a service on the internet. Uh, so web allows you to communicate with another server or another machine over HTTP protocol. Okay, so to publish the web, actually the web introduced as the document publishing service for the web. Okay, you can publish documents over the web or document sharing service over the internet. Okay, so when you want to share a document, you must publish that document, or you have to make that document in a particular technology. So they introduce a technology called HTML, hypertext markup language. You can publish your content using HTML, then it can view anyone using HTTP protocol. So normally in computing we have this platform issue. So in different platforms we use different file formats. Example, when it comes to Windows, we may use a Word application doc. When it comes to a Linux platform, we use Writer, same as Word, but different file systems. So if you publish a document in a particular platform independent way, platform dependent way, the users from another platform will not be able to understand it. That is why we need a common technology to publish our content, then everyone on the internet can read them, can use them. So they introduce HTML language. HTML is a derived language from a language called SGML, Standard Generalized Markup Language. The specialty of HTML is HTML uses markup tags. Whenever you need to write something, publish something, you have to use those markup tags to compose your message. Uh, right, so that's about HTML. The HTML example. HTML, you have about 30 plus number of predefined set of tags in HTML 4.01 version. The latest version is HTML uh, 5.0. It has got so many new uh, tags. So you have this type of tags. We call them as markup tags. Start with semicolon less than, and you have a word like this and end with greater than. And most of markup tags comes with a specific end tag and start tag. This the start tag and this is end tag, both are similar. End tag start with a forward slash that refers the end of the particular tag. And the basic structure for HTML page is like this. So you have the HTML and you have a section called head section and another section called. So there are two sections mainly in the HTML, head and the body. So you can use head section to represent some information for your the browser. Example like title is part of your web browser. It will appear on the title bar on your web browser, and the body represent content of your message. Okay, it will be appear within the white color area on your browser. The body, you can have headings like H1. This is a simple structure of HTML web page. So you have markup text, and you can represent text in your markup text to represent your message. And most of these markup text has attributes. We can use attributes to modify this the markup tag. Now here, mm, Hila, can you mute your microphone? Uh, so with markup text, we can use something called attributes. Example, attributes can be used to modify the particular tag. So normally when you use heading one, it will be left align. If you want to make it center, you can use align. Attribute comes as name value pair. Attribute has a name and a value. The value must be within quotation, either double or single quotation, doesn't matter. And HTML is a case insensitive language. Case insensitive. It means you can write HTML in any case, simple or capital. Okay, so a question from Fazlur Rahman. You were saying about 30 something tags. Does heading, para, and all come under this? Or is it the tags used to define? No. In HTML 4.0, there are 30 odd tags. It includes HTML head, heading, title, body, paragraph, everything. But HTML5 is the latest version of HTML, but still not HTML5 is not yet widely accepted language. It contains some of the new tags, like you have tags for audio, video, and you have page layout tags. There are so many tags in HTML5. So I think it is more than 100 now. Is that clear? Aslur? Right. Okay. Right. Uh, so basically, the tags has these attributes. So attributes can be used. Attributes are mostly optional. Mostly optional. In some tags, attributes are compulsory. In most of the cases, attributes are optional. Attributes can be used to modify the modify your content. Example, in this case, in heading, the align attribute is optional. The line is not. To remove this, it will be left aligned by default. Center or right only you had to use align. But in some tags like img tag, img tag can be used to embed an image into a web page. So img tag is useless without src attribute. Src attribute can be used to specify the location of your image that you want to show on the screen. And now the img tag and your h1 or the body or head or title or html tags are different. H1 has a separate closing tag. Body has a separate closing tag. Head has a separate closing tag. Title has a separate. But IMG doesn't have an end tag. Call them as empty tags. Empty tag doesn't comes with a separate end tag. So in empty tags, you have to use the forward slash at the end of the tag. Empty means it doesn't contain any information like this. H1 is considered as a content element, content tag. Why? It contains some information like this. So that is why we have a opening tag and closing tag. In between we have content information. Whereas IMG tag cannot hold any content, so therefore it does not require a separate closing tag. So therefore we have to specify the forward slash at the end of the tag. That is called self closing. This is called self closing. Even if you forget to do that, no problem, that will appear on the browser, because HTML is not a very strict language like C sharp or Java or any other. Okay. Even if you make a mistake in the C sharp, the HTML code, it will work. There won't be any errors. Okay, but that is HTML, and that is not structured well. Therefore, the people who are managing HTML, there's an organization called W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. They are the people managing HTML technologies. World Wide Web. W3C stands for World Wide Web. So the World Wide Web Consortium managing the web technologies, basically HTML, CSS, etc. So in 1999, they introduced a new way of HTML called XHTML. A new HTML technology. It's the combination of HTML and there's another language called XML, Extensible Markup Language, XML. HTML is not a new language, it's simply HTML as in HTML, you have got, as I told you earlier, more than 30 predefined text like HTML head, blah blah blah. XML is unlike HTML, it's a markup language, but it doesn't have any predefined tag. XML doesn't have any predefined tag. XML has set of rules. In XML, you can make your own set of tags because XML has introduced to transport data between different applications, whereas HTML has introduced to publish information on the web. That is why HTML has got some predefined set of tags. So you have to use these predefined tags to publish your information on the World Wide Web. Whereas XML has introduced to transport data between versatile environments. Example, you have set of data on Linux environment. You need to transport them into Windows platform. If you use Linux specific format, the Windows people will not be able to understand. If you use different like example from Windows, you need to send some information to Mac environment, Apple Macintosh. So if you use the platform dependent technology, the other people will not be able to read it. That's why in 1998, actually, the World Wide Web Consortium introduced this new language called XML as a common technology to transport data between or information between different environments. So in that case, they introduce set of rules and they have given freedom to users to make their own tags. Example, I am working for esoft, we are working with student information. So if I want to send student information to another organization, I can use some text like student. Is my own tag, an ID of the student. Let's say 1001 name. These are my own tags. So I can represent my data using my own set of tags. That is XML. In XML, you don't have any predefined tag. You have freedom to make your own tag, but there are some rules. Rules are X are case sensitive. Told you HTML is not a case sensitive language, but XML tags are case sensitive. Case sensitive doesn't matter like C sharp. Case sensitivity in XML means if you open a tag in a particular way, You must close as in the same way. Example here, full simple, the closing tag also must be in full simple. But in HTML, this is possible. This is valid. You open in HTML capital, close in HTML simple, no problem. This is valid in HTML. But in XML, that is invalid because tags are case sensitive. And there's a rule, every must be closed. HTML, this is not required. This is fine. Even you have tags like this BR, it doesn't have a closing tag because BR break is an empty tag. It doesn't contain any information. Therefore, you don't need something like this. It doesn't contain any information. So therefore, you don't need that. So simply break. That's all. But in XML, so it's not in this case it's not like very constant. Certain tags comes with open tag and close tag. Certain tag doesn't have a closing tag. It's not constant. To make it as a constant language in XML, they made every tag must be closed, meaning every tag must have a closing tag. But for empty text, we cannot introduce a new empty the end tag like this. It's invalid there. That is why they introduce something called self-closing. The self-closing concept comes from XML. Another rule of XML. One, attribute value must be in quotations. So in HTML, this is not compulsory. Even this is accepted. But XML, they says it must be in quotation, either single or double. It's up to you. And test properly. Means tags inside a tag called nested tags. Here, example, img tag is inside the body tag, like child. So therefore, I can say img is a nested tag of body. In HTML, you can do like this: B for bold, E for italic. Can someone tell me the output of this? Unmute your mic and answer. Hmm? Tell me says text is bold and italic. Correct? Yeah. Okay. Text will be bold and italic. Okay. Asus says there's a question from Asus. Can you explain again why BR tag is not closing? Yeah. Okay. The BR. Yeah. Ishara says, but it is incorrect. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So BR is a line break. Okay. If you want to display something in the next line of the browser, because in HTML ignore white spaces. In your HTML code, you can have this type of spaces. We call them as white spaces. Though you have this type of spaces in your source code, it won't appear on your output. Meaning, HTML ignore white spaces in your code. So it doesn't follow the same format in your source code to the output. If you display things in different lines, you have to use this break tag. Do we need to keep any information in the break? No. like this heading is information in the h1 tag, right? Okay, that is why it requires a separate closing tag. It doesn't have such information, therefore it doesn't require a closing tag. As a closing tag like this, it means it can contain some information like this. Okay, right? So it doesn't contain any information, therefore the break doesn't have a closing tag. Okay, similarly img tag doesn't contain information, so it ends with like this src, no separate closing tag there. Likewise, there are number of tags, we call them as empty tags. We call break, img, hr, horizontal rule, those are input tag. All are empty text, doesn't contain any information, whereas heading, paragraph, bold, italic, even body, title considered as content tags, content elements or content tags. Example, one uh, paragraph, bold, all as content elements. Another name for tag call elements. Okay, as br, mg, horizontal rule considered as empty tags, empty elements. Okay? So these are usually self is h1 b has separate closing tags, whereas br, img, hr doesn't have separate closing tag, right? As you said, empty text should be closed in XML, but will it work on HTML if empty text? In HTML, HTML accept whether it's closed or not. HTML is not proper language, so therefore, this is valid in HTML, and this is also valid in HTML. Got it? Okay, right? So therefore, it is not a problem. Just give me a moment. I will come shortly. How are you? All right. So therefore, in HTML, you can have empty text without self close or with self close. It's acceptable. Okay, right. Back to XML. In XML, tags are case sensitive. Every tag must be closed. Attribute values must be in quotation, and text must be in properly nested. Okay. The last open text should close. Yeah, yeah. That's what. Uh, so here, now here, in HTML, this is valid, but according to XML, it is invalid because in XML it says text must be properly nested. It means in this case, I becomes a child of bold. So therefore, you must close I before the bold, before its parent. So this is a proper nesting. But in HTML, other way also it works. But in XML, it's incorrect. Okay, so in 1999, W3C combined HTML and XML rules. HTML has tags, XML has rules, these rules. So they invent not a new language. It's they invent a new way of HTML called XHTML. That means extensible hypertext markup language. It's not a new language. It's same HTML with XML rules. Now I can consider this as an HTML document. But if I do like this, this is an XHTML document. Got it? It's not a new document, no new tags, but it's a proper document. All tags in same case. Uh, 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 and properly claused and attributes within quote attribute values in quotation properly nested, empty tags are self-closed, so therefore I can consider this as an XHTML document. Is that clear? Okay, right. And it is not a standard, but it's a practice in many developers. So most of developers write markup tags in lowercase, but doesn't matter, you can write in capital as well. But case sensitive means, again, if you open a tag like this, you must close as the way you open it. That's the only requirement. So still this is XHTML. Okay? Right, but most in purpose they are using lowercase for uh, HTML. Moving back to the lesson, I think you have got an understanding about HTML, XHTML, and XML. Is that clear? Uh, uh, so HTML is slowly being replaced by, yeah, XHTML. HTML is slowly being replaced by HTML. Now actually HTML is replaced by HTML5. HTML5 is not yet a standard language, remember that. Okay, XHTML is XHTML stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language, and it's the current W3 standard for writing HTML. Yeah, still XHTML is the current standard for writing HTML, writing web. Though we use HTML5, most of web browsers like Chrome, IE, Firefox, Opera support HTML5, but still W3C has not yet recognized it as a standard language. In future, yeah, they will do that. HTML Hypertext Markup Language is based on the standard present by the World Wide Web Consortium, DTD. uh, uh, for all these tags, here we are using HTML head, body, etc. Okay, for all these tags there's a definition, the definition called DTD, document type definition. Normally when we write HTML document, the top of the document we specify the location of the DTD. If I should show you an example, okay, okay, unfortunately this also follows HTML5. Okay, so this is HTML5, that's why you have just HTML here. But if you're using older version of HTML, so then you can find something called DTD here. It contains a location for a DTD file, document type definition file. Show you an example on the file. Yeah. So in the HTML 4.01, there are many DTDs. The top of the document you can see doc type HTML public, the location of the DTD file, the location. File contain the definition of all the HTML tags you are using. DTD stands for document type definition. Here is the definition of your HTML tags you are using. Contains all the attributes that you can use, the values, everything. For example, if I well, can you mute your microphone? Uh, Here, this is about heading. Here, there are 6 levels of heading from H1, H1 to H6. Uh, right, I forgot the attributes. Yeah, H1 to H6. This is how they have defined the heading tags. What are the attributes of them? Okay. It's like attributes are mentioned in a different DTD. Anyway, so the DTD stands for document type definition. It contains the definition of all the HTML tags you are using. Why we call HTML5 is not yet a standard language because it doesn't have a DTD yet. That's why you start your document like this doc type just HTML. But in the old days, in HTML5 4.01, so we had to open it like this doc type HTML public and the location of the DTD. Okay, so that's the difference between the HTML5 and the HTML version. Right, that's a question. Usually I have never linked, so in developing, yeah, so that's not compulsory to link DTD. It's not compulsory to link DTD, but just linking the DTD, no, it is not required to link DTD. If you link DTD, you can validate your document. If not, you cannot validate your document. Okay, you can go to there's a validation service in W3C. I'll show that as well. Um, right? Okay, so basically, to get the uh, validation done for your document, you must have a DTD if it's HTML 4.01. If not, you cannot validate your document. Okay, once you validate your document, you can you can get a small logo to display on your web page. It makes sure all your things will be appear in all browsers in same way. Okay, you may have seen this issue some when you browse certain web pages from it looks in a particular way in the Internet Explorer it looks differently. Certain functions may not work. That based on that is depends on the validation. If you validate your HTML document, it says your document will appear all the browsers in the same way. That's the guarantee you get. But nowadays people are not following that because majority of users are using Chrome and Firefox. So therefore, developers are targeting only those two browsers. They don't worry about IE, Opera, etc. Right. Uh, Moving back to the lesson, the DTD here, the DTD is a tool used by the developer to ensure that a web page follows a specified markup language. Yeah. Okay. So these rules are defined in the DTD. Right. So DTD, if you are using a DTD, you have to specify this doc type at the top of the document. Doc type HTML is a root element of your HTML document, then public and location on the DTD file. But when it comes to the latest the HTML page, we don't need the DTD. There's no DTD. That's why just HTML without doc type. Element and text. Yeah, an element is the name of an HTML structure. Okay, tags are used to create them. The entire thing called element. Example is called element. One is the tag. A line is the attribute, and this is called content. Tags are used to create of them. XHTML requires that every tag that has been started with a tag also end with a tag. Yes. Okay. Example, the symbol used to end or close element is the slash. Okay. Break. This is in all HTML. This is wrong. Wrong in the sense there's no separate closing tag for break. Okay. This is the proper closing of break. If you do this way, in this way, this means it can contain some information. You're giving a wrong message. This is the correct way of closing empty tags. Apart from tags, we have attributes. Here, attribute define properties that an element might want to include. Example, src is an attribute of img tag. It can use to represent the location of the picture that you want to display on the screen. They are placed inside the starting tag after the element name. Yeah, so the attributes are always placed in the starting element, not in the close. Okay, and attributes are separate. There can be more than one attribute, and attributes must be separated with space. First element name, space, attribute name. Who's that? Are you listening to a song or listening to my lesson? Okay. Uh, so basically, the attributes are placed in the open tag of HTML element and separated with space. Okay, you have the element space attribute name equal its value within quotation space the second attribute and so on. The quotation mark can makes around the attribute value may either be single or double. Doesn't matter anyway. The value must be within quotation, either double or single. Basic elements we know about HTML head, title, body, etc. The HTML element is required actually. Yeah. Okay. When you make an HTML page, HTML web page, the HTML is the very first tag we call as root tag. R-double-O-T root element or root tag. All other tags comes under HTML, so we call them as child. Here we have parent-child relationship. HTML is the parent tag of all other tags in HTML, and head, body are child tags of HTML. Yeah, head is a child of under HTML, so therefore I can say head is a child of HTML. Title is a child of head, likewise, right? Mhm. Uh, Head element is basically a placeholder for some information for the web browser. Okay, basically you can specify the title of the the page and some meta tags. Okay, you can specify some meta tags in head called meta refresh. If you want to refresh the browser constantly, frequently, you can specify the meta. And if you want to give some information for search engines, you can use meta keywords. So likewise, you can use meta tags to represent some information in your web page. So those are not directly visible to the user, but meta tags can be used to give some information to a web browser, search engine, etc. Although not required, meta tags are not required. Meta element should be included as a child element of the head. It holds data about the data, metadata called data about data basically. The web page such as the type of the content, refresh rate, author, character set, etc. Example, if you want to use Sinhala or Tamil in your web page, you use the character set that is called UTF-8. For example, here you can say meta use ISO-8859-1, meaning you can use only English character set in your body. Details in English, and it will appear on the web browser. But if you want to display things in Sinhala or other languages, you have to use UTF Unicode character set. It's called UTF-8. Of this is your page will refresh at every 10 seconds. Likewise, you can specify some meta tags. These meta tags can be used to give information for the browser. Uh, Data placed in the element will not be displayed on the page, but can be useful for browsers, search engines, and other web services. Then we have title tag in the head. The title can be used to show the title of your web page as well. in placeholder for your information. If you want to display something on something to the user, you have to use the body tag. Within the body, you can specify any message like this will directly appear to the end user. Hello is in the body, so you can see hello on the screen. Right now, if you notice over here, every 10 seconds, this page is refreshing. Hmm. Okay, right. Because we have mentioned that in the head section as 10. Okay, right. So then we can have paragraph headings, other text formatting, font formatting, styling tags on the body, validating HTML. I told you now we are using XHTML. Okay, you have to follow these HTML XML rules to write your document in a proper way. Once you write the document based on this rule, we call it as a well-formed document. Well-formed document. Once you make your documents well-formed, only you can validate it by the W3C validator. Okay, if your document is well-formed, that ensure it will appear as you expected in all the web browsers. That's advantage of creating a well-formed document. Right. Now this document looks like well-formed, uh, but let's say I need to make it as bold. Even if I ignore this part, it will work. No differences. It's working. That's the thing of HTML. HTML doesn't show any error, but this is not well-formed. Syntactically, it's wrong. Therefore, now it is appearing on the Internet Explorer, but may not work on another browser as you expected. That's why when we create an HTML web page, it must be well formed. Well formed means you have developed your web page based on XML rules. Writing HTML, you can use any simple text editor or HTML generator to generate HTML. Example, we can use .NET IDE to write HTML. So we don't want to basically write, we can simply build automatically. And you can use any text editor like Notepad, Notepad++, to write your own HTML pages. Right. So basically, HTML can define the structure of your web page. Uh, HTML is not a very good language to format your content. Example, I have set of paragraphs here. We have set of paragraphs on the screen. Normally, when we present something on the web, it must be attractive. Otherwise, people won't come to our website. Information, when we present it, the appearance is really important. HTML has got some basic operations or basic options to validate your uh, put a color for this paragraph. You can use font tag. Yes. Say, uh, we'll use Arial. Oh, now it's Arial and use now you are the first paragraph is uh, in Arial and red. I need to apply the same thing for rest. So I have to repeat it again and again. Therefore, and it has got only very few formatting features. You can make bold, underline, you can apply colors, likewise. And web is not a single page. There can be hundreds of pages in a website. So, and when we design a website, we have to maintain the consistency. If you're using a paragraph in very first page, if it is in black color, the second page also must follow the second page also follow the same rule, the same pattern. Otherwise, users will face some issues when they're navigating between pages. Therefore, the W3 is introduced another language called CSS, Cascading Style Sheet, purely for styling purposes. So in HTML, you don't need to worry about the styles like this. You can just focus on content, HTML, and let CSS to define the styles. Okay, you can simply design the structure of a page using HTML, and you can use CSS. The head section you can define CSS like this: style, type, text CSS. Now I need to make all these paragraphs bold. I can say P font date color colon red. So it's a very easier way to specify styles for your content. So therefore, today we use HTML to manage the content and CSS to define the layout or the appearance of the page. Okay, the advantage of CSS, you can simply replicate the same style across multiple pages without repeating your codes. That's an advantage. Okay, right. So therefore, we use CSS to define the appearance of web pages. Embedding images with HTML, that you can simply use img tag rc and specify the path. You can specify the location. Again, remember, before you in .NET it's not a problem, but in uh, when you use other technologies, you can save your pages here and there, but don't do that. Okay, when you write a website, save everything in a single folder. Okay, now here I have the file in this web application one folder, so I can manage everything here. If I want, I can create a folder in the solution explorer. So something images, I can save all the images into this folder. Don't have pictures, no problem. So if you have picture, you can keep it here, and you can reference from your web page like this. Images is your folder / your file. Browse it. the image will be appear on the screen. Right, so that's about images. Then the CSS, there are basically three types of CSS that we can use with HTML. One is called inline CSS, the other one is called internal CSS, the last one called external CSS. Inline CSS mean when you write an HTML, you can use an attribute called style attribute. Here you can define color. Here I have specified the color of all the paragraphs as red, but only for this paragraph internally I have defined its color as blue. So therefore, uh, here the picture is not exist. That's why about empty box here. Now this paragraph is in blue. Okay, because we have defined an inline style for that. It's called inline, and this is called internal. Internal style is defined in the head section. Okay, if you have overlapping CSS, that's what we call cascading. Okay, now here you have specified the color of the paragraph. Color means text color. Color of the paragraph one as blue. In the top also you have mentioned the color of the paragraph as red. Basically, here the color red and color blue will be applicable for para 1, but para 1 gets only the closest CSS. Inline is the closest CSS, so therefore finally it will appear with the inline style, and it will get the bold from the internal one. Okay, now if you look at the output, it's bold and blue. It has got color from inline and bold from the internal. That is how it works. That's why we call cascading style sheet. Okay, you can apply styles in a cascading nature. If overlapping or similar styles are there, it gets the closest one. Here color is overlapping. Now it has got the closest one. Okay, the other, and we have another type of CSS called external CSS. External CSS is very handy when it comes to multiple pages. Now I need to let's say I have a website with multiple pages. Let's say we have another HTML page. Let's name it one page. And in the second page also we have set of paragraphs. So the second page, and we'll name this page as home page. First page, home page. I'll directly go to the second page. Okay, now here you have paragraphs in normal black color, and here you have bold, bold and red color. So not consistent across pages. So when you browse through pages, the users get confused. Okay, different formats. So better to follow same format. So you don't want to replicate the same thing in second page. If you want, you can do that, but that's not the easiest way. You can define the external separate CSS file. The extension is .css. We'll name it as style. Here you can define styles for your elements. We don't need to define for body. I need to define for paragraph. Paragraph, I can say font family here, Arial, colon, say green. Nation. Now I need to link the style with my index page and the second page. We can link them like this. Link tag, link, type, / css rel style sheet href, name is style.css. Okay, now this index page has got all three types of styles: inline style, internal style, and external style, all for paragraphs. Okay, now inline one, for the paragraph one, it says color blue. Okay, so therefore it will be in blue color, but it will get the font weight from internal, bold. It will be bold, and it will get underlined and font family from external. There is a cascading nature with output. Yeah, the first one is bold, underline, and blue. Bold and underline got, and font is uh, Arial from external file, internal, and inline. And this has got features from internal and external. This is also same like that. Now here, if you go to the second page, still second page looks different. I can simply page not bold, because we have mentioned bold only in the very first page as a part of internal. Okay, not bold, but green and underline and Arial font. Just got these features from external file. You can have three types of CSS: inline, internal, and external. When same style is appearing in multiple places, the element will get the closest CSS facility. Remember that. Okay, inline has the most higher frequency, then internal, then external. So with CSS, you can define font, you can define text, and you can define borders, colors, etc. So this is about CSS. I think you all have done CSS in your previous studies. Okay, creating HTML tables, that's not a big deal. You can use a tag called table tag. Let's say this one. Table contains set of rows and columns. We define them as tr. Basically, first row may contain headings, so we define them as th. Let's say name. May contain records. D, table data. right? But when you browse it, look at the output. It is not like table. By default, table doesn't have a border. The border thickness is 0. So you can use border attribute and set that. And here the first row we use th, the rest for the rest of rows we use td. Both are like similar, only difference is on the appearance. The table headings will be appear in bold and center, and table data appear in the left line without bold. Okay. If I change the width of the page, you can see it clearly. This is centered, bold, and this is without that formatting. And if you want for tables, you can assign a title for the table we call caption. You can use here caption. Caption will be appear at the top of the table. If you want, you can make it. You can say a line. I don't know, there's a way to do that. You can display over top or bottom, not align something else. Anyway, right. So that's all about HTML and CSS. We have got some questions. Uh, right. When I was developing a site, external CSS didn't support for a particular page, but internal style CSS supported. Can I know why? Normally, external style should work. Maybe a problem with your preference. Okay, that may be the reason. Otherwise, it should work. Okay. We can, yeah. There's another way to. There's a question here. We can import the style sheet. Yeah. Okay. So the reference, you can reference external style sheet like this. Or there's another way to do that. You can say style type and the file name style works in the same. Okay. Right. Uh, if you have any question, some style work. All right. Okay. Yeah. The thing maybe some style work, some style don't means. Mm, uh, example. Look at this example. Here you have got font family, color, and decoration. Internally also you have defined font weight and color. Now color is repeating. So therefore your content, your paragraph will get color from the internal, not from external one. This will be removed or hidden because this will be covered by this one, the internal one. That may be another reason. So without looking at your code, I cannot give you the correct answer, but normally it should work if they are not repeating. Okay, right. uh, Moving on, laying out HTMLs. Yeah, you can basically to lay out HTML documents, you can use earlier we used tables to lay out HTML pages, but now we are using division tag, div tag, to lay out HTML pages. And another thing is nowadays we don't make our own layouts, we can use some CSS libraries. Example, you can use Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a CSS library. Okay, you don't want to write CSS like this. Simply you can call it by one word. Okay, then it will simply apply all the necessary formatting. Currently, most of developers are following such libraries. They don't write their own CSS like this. Okay, so remember you can use divisions to lay out your web page. Then your web page will nicely appear on different screens. Different screen means today we are using very wide screen as well as very small screens like mobile phones. So when you design a web page, you have to think about the device of the end user. Okay, so therefore, use responsive design technologies. We call responsive, meaning the same page will appear in all screens. We call it responsive design. We can use libraries like Bootstrap to do so easily. Next thing about ASP.NET, I think the time is up. We can stop here.